Hello, and welcome to this COMP3218 game design and development video from the University of Southampton. My name is Tom Blount, I'm one of the lecturers on the course, and today I am joined by...
Hi, I'm Luca. I'm one of the demonstrators on the course.
Excellent. So we are going to be looking through some more of our students' courseworks. This year, most of the courseworks have been done in groups of 3. Some of the groups are smaller, but we'll be taking that into account as we go through as we go through the marks criteria. But before we get into that, Luca, could you tell us a little bit about what we asked the students to do for this coursework?
Yes, so for coursework 1, we asked the students to form groups of 3 and make a game prototype that showed off a core dynamic of the game that their mechanics could build towards, and a tutorial to allow the player to learn what those mechanics are.
Fantastic. So without further ado, let's jump into our first game. All right, and our first game is Hero Night. So we've got a very nice title screen, blisteringly loud music, which I've turned down a little bit for your benefit. But it's very jaunty. I like it. I feel like we're on a Caribbean island already. So let's hit play. Okay. We got some hearts.
Some nice sprite work.
Press A and D to move left and right. Okay, so far so good. Press space to jump. The longer you press, the higher you jump. Press A and D to move horizontally while in the air. Okay, and we have to jump to continue. So nice integration there. Avoid any sort of danger zone. Don't fall into the void. Okay, maybe doesn't need to be explicitly tutorialized, but 2 left bars are your HP bar and your soul bar. HP makes you alive.
Soul bar.
Yep, souls can heal you. Okay. Avoid colliding into enemies, which can hurt you and decrease your HP. Okay. Left click to attack, WSD to choose the attack direction. Successful attack will gain you a soul. So if I go back here and... yes, I'm getting souls. Your attack can push an enemy away. Use it well to keep distance with enemy. Stay healthy in battle. Ooh, okay. Bonk.
I like how they've got a little bit of enemy variety right off the bat in the tutorial section. Flying enemy to kind of spice things up is nice.
Hold X to spend at least 2 souls to heal. You can't move or attack during healing. You can't heal if you have less than 2 soul. Okay. Follow the signboard to find the main path. Follow the red mushroom to find collectibles. There are always skulls near a gate room. You can only pass through a gate room by killing all mobs that spawn in waves. Okay, so the music changes slightly once we're in a gate room. There's some red mushrooms over there. Ooh.
Another enemy variety?
Yeah, I kind of like... I like the way that they just fly off the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Follow the red mushroom to find collectibles, which may hide inside paths. Okay. Collectibles.
Second little reminder for the player, but it's good to have like a signpost for exactly the first one that has a secret associated.
Increases your max HP. Different collectibles help you get stronger.
Okay.
You have finished tutorial. Alright, let's go for the main level. Aha, there's a red mushroom and a skull sign.
I wonder.
Can I get down here? No? What about this way? Ooh. Okay.
That's where the background is. Okay.
Yeah, not mega clear, but we sorted it out. Mushroom.
Yeah, now my eyes have adjusted to thinking of that as the background. It makes a lot more sense, but I thought you were going to walk over that pit at the beginning.
Yep, same. Ooh, I'm losing health. Come down here and bite me like a bird. Oh, gotta use my... There we go, gotta use my souls. Yeah.
And then you get a little bit of that risk-reward... death. I was going to say, you get a little bit of that risk-reward of once you're trying to heal, if you're healing in combat, you're going for a slightly risky maneuver. So I think that's some cool design space that's explored.
Oh,
you locked off?
Yeah, which I
you get one chance.
I think they mentioned in the expo that that's a bug, because if it happens to you on the main path, you are stuck. So I will try not to die over here. Right, let's charge up some souls so I can heal a bit when we get to the next skull room.
Oh, a new enemy.
More kinds of enemies that just sort of charge straight at you. Kind of stuck. Ooh. Quickly heal. Oh no, don't quickly heal. I'm gonna run all the way over here and then try and heal. Alright, let's try this again.
I have a quick question for while you're playing. Are you able to jump and attack in the air, or is attacking an exclusively grounded thing?
No, you're right. I can attack in the air. I think I can also, I can also target directly up.
Yeah, so you get a few different tools for dealing with the flying enemies as opposed to the grounded ones.
More max health. And it full heals me as well. Very nice. Keep going up here.
Level 1.
I was gonna say, didn't read that sign, but I assume it just said you have won the level.
Yeah, it started with congratulations, so... Another bear. Bear and a slime.
As long as nothing else spawns behind me, I think I got this. It's the birds that are really giving me trouble. Oh no, a bird!
It seems like they've got, like, a reasonable amount of complexity to the enemy AI. Maybe the bear is more akin to the classic zombie of finds the player's position, walks towards the player. But with the bird and the frog, they seem to be doing a little bit of, like, strategy planning, taking a moment before doing, like, a dive.
I don't know about strategy, but yeah, there's definitely different behaviors.
Yeah.
More souls. And I guess we go up here. And then there's more secrets this way. We don't even
max
need
HP.
Yeah. Grab that, and then off we go. So again, another instance of risk versus reward. Do I go for the hidden secrets, or do I just go straight for the boss? Do I fight some extra things in exchange for becoming even more powerful? Uh-oh. Not sure how much health this thing has. I always kind of like a boss fight that's got a health bar, so I know roughly how much danger I'm in. But let's keep going. Oh, there he goes.
And there he goes.
Alright, boss defeated. I'm gonna assume that's the big climax, but I'm gonna heal up anyway just in case. Congratulations, you're finished level 2. End of game. Excellent. So I don't think we've got a way to... Oh, there we can. We can go back to the main menu. Hey, we've even got a log of the tutorial, which is kind of nice.
Exactly. 13 steps. Alright. So yeah, do you want to have a little look at the mark scheme? Start talking about the sort of quality of the game?
Let's do that.
So, in terms of presentation, so they've used like a nice tile set, like a sprite pack, I'd imagine, but I think it works quite well together. They've taken the time to make like little details under the floor and stuff like that, rather than it just being a continuous, brown box, which is minor but appreciated.
That's true, yeah.
But yeah, it's got a few different sprites for the variations of enemies, some sound design in there, a little bit of music, and some animations for the attacks. I think it's quite serviceable in so much as all of the things that need to be communicated to the player visually are quite well communicated.
Yeah, they even
Yeah.
like the little skull sprites, mushroom sprites, all these kinds of things. Like nice little bit of information design. I think it'd be nice if there was like a health bar above the final boss or something like that. But other than
Perhaps,
that,
yeah.
well, yeah, it's all communicated pretty well. I would say we're looking at sort of some professional. Ooh. Cherry's got a little bit excited there. I would say
Minor bug.
We're kind of up at the professional level. They're complete. They're effective. Ooh. Like there are some little bits of weirdness with like the I don't know what you call it. This bit here where it looks like you can just walk across and then you fall through. But it's definitely not the end of the world. See if I can beat this one. Ooh, Cherry's definitely.
The thing that would like separate the good and the excellent here is complete, effective, and appealing. And considering the like mechanics of the game and the sort of I don't know, general vibe of it being a hero, a knight going through and killing enemies to get to the end and complete the level. I think it's quite good. I think it communicates things in a way that is both effective and appealing.
Okay, so you think it's appealing as well?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just a sucker for a good bit of like sprite art or pixel art. Obviously, it has come from like a couple of different sources, so maybe there's some like congruency that we could nitpick, but maybe somewhere in between that good and excellent.
You know what? Yeah, and the reason I think that maybe it sort of gets to part way between the two is because, for example, their frog enemy like has a frog-like pattern, right? It's like little details like that pull together quite nicely. And so, let's say between a good and an excellent, and then as you rightly say, or rather, as we kind of allude to, let's talk about some of the mechanics and some of the bugs.
Absolutely. So in the meaningful play. I think. Oh yeah, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so there is a bit of a bug. It is technically a game-breaking bug because we can't proceed, but it's not like we're suffering frequent crashes or anything. So it's not too bad. Could be worse. As far as mechanics go, we've got running, we've got jumping, we've got attacking, we've got different directional attacks. Maybe it's a stretch to say that that's a separate mechanic. And we've got a number of different pickups and power-ups.
Yeah, it's like a well-developed single mechanic, because we've also got the ability to like attack upwards, which is something that like is dependent on which enemy you're facing, whether that's going to be the right decision or not. With it's got the soul meter as well.
Yeah, I suddenly realised. Oh yeah, we should mention that because that's kind of a nice touch.
Yeah, you get like multiple different sources of healing between the cherries that also give you the increased max HP, and then just fighting the enemies. And though it might like work out numerically roughly the same had you just been given an automatic heal at the end of every fight, it kind of feels nice to know that it was you successfully striking the enemy that got you the ability to heal back.
Yeah, you're right, and I think we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the core dynamic as well. If I manage to survive that long. Here it comes. What was I going to say? Yeah, so in terms of the controls feel fine as well. Sometimes the jump feels a little bit floaty, but otherwise it all sort of pulls together kind of nicely. I feel like we're easily at the engaging level. Like we've got multiple mechanics, smooth controls, reasonable complexity. I don't know if it still has very minor bugs. Again, we've got. I don't think it hits the excellent because we do have that kind of bug in the middle of it.
No. We've got satisfactory may have some minor bugs, good may still have very minor bugs, and then excellent is no bugs, or close enough to.
However, because if you look at the rest of satisfactory, it's fewer mechanics, usable controls, whereas I think they've done okay enough in those categories to still justify the good.
I think so, yeah.
So, which takes us on to the brief, so how well they design their tutorial, their levels, and so on. So we'll start with goals, risks, and rewards. Goals pretty clear. Get from point A to point B. Keep going right, for the most part.
Absolutely. Defeat all the enemies before you may progress.
Yep, in fact, yeah, specifically defeat, like a wave of enemies before you can continue. I keep messing up my, there we go. I was going to say, I should have used all of my souls to heal before I picked up the soul gem, because then it would have refilled it.
One of the mechanics that kind of supports that being like a main part of the game. So you might have like a little platformer with enemies similarly, and you could just walk past them. But here the game actually is like, no, you have to defeat them in order to get to the end, which I think maybe skipping ahead a little bit does support its core dynamic.
Yeah, I agree, and yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in a second. In terms of so goals, pretty good.
Goals, risks, and
reward. So I think we've already sort of touched on this as well, but the fact that you've got the optional paths. So do you take a little bit of extra risk? Do you think you can beat these enemies in order to make yourself more powerful? You get a commensurate reward as a result. That works quite nicely, yeah. Even within the sort of healing mechanic, as you sort of rightly said, you've got when should I use it? Because it makes me sort of vulnerable to attack. So do I retreat for a little bit? And use that so that I can get back into the fight. That works quite nicely together, actually, I think.
Because you've been in the player one seat, how would you say the difficulty is? Because I think that like adds to the coherency of the risk and reward. Does it feel like a fair and balanced risk reward?
I would say it does. I would say now that I figured out how the birds work, it's pretty easy. But again, in a small prototype, you kind of want to make sure your audience can get to the end. So that's, I'm not going to say it's too easy. It's certainly not trivial. I've got to still think about what I'm doing, and I think if I didn't have all the power-ups, this boss would probably still give me a little bit of trouble.
So at this, for the goals, risks, and rewards, a good would be a clear and coherent set of goals, risks, and rewards. I think it quite comfortably hits clear and coherent. And then to push it to an excellent, it would also need to be well balanced.
And you know what? I think it probably is. I think it hits the excellent.
Yeah. I'd give that an excellent.
Which brings us on to pacing. So, what do we think about the pacing? So we start off with
the tutorial level. Yeah.
It's interesting that there isn't
we've got
much.
1 and 2.
The first thing they introduce us to is bottomless pit, and then there's actually not that much platforming across the rest of the game, like beyond just navigating the level, which is fine. And again, we'll talk about this when we talk about their core dynamic. But it's interesting that was the thing that they sort of emphasized in one of the first tutorial messages.
It might have been a sort of thing that was developed earlier on in the prototype when they thought there might be a bit more of the platforming to the game. Yeah.
So we start off, they introduce us to the slime, which is a pretty trivial enemy. Then they introduce us to, I think, the eagle next, and then they lock us in this room with a bunch of different enemies. So even within the first level,
there's like a clear rising tension.
Yeah, and obviously we've got a nice climactic peak at the end with giant boss fight. So, I mean, tension's definitely rising. I would say it's rising in a coherent pattern.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Do we think it's well balanced? Yeah, probably. Again, like maybe there are certain bits that are perhaps easier than others. So there's a bit that I'm thinking of where right before the final boss fight, you've got that sort of, I think it's a soul gem or something like that, guarded by a bear. And the bear is kind of, interestingly, a pretty trivial enemy to fight by themselves. You just sort of can spam your attack and so on, which kind of undermines a little bit of the tension there. But overall, I think it works quite well. So maybe between a good and an excellent, I think.
I think that's quite fair, yeah.
Okey-doke. So the tutorial. So let's go back so that we can look at it as we talk about it. So tutorial definitely gradually explains the gameplay and the controls. It breaks it down quite a lot. This bit's quite nice because it is somewhat integrated with the play. They don't just tell us how to jump, they then make us jump to show that we understand it.
Gives us a pit to fall into.
Yeah. In fact, they actually give us an enemy and tell us...
correct in believing that these enemies don't fight back at all?
I think if you bump into them, you lose HP, but they don't actively pursue you much. Certainly the tutorial ones don't, but then this one does.
Yeah.
So again, sort of a gradual increase in difficulty and tension. For the most part, it's sort of nicely done. I wouldn't say anything is tutorialized through the level design. It's all very obviously spelled out to you.
Yeah.
Like in explicit text. Some things, I think that's, okay, like the sign telling you mushrooms mark collectibles. Like, maybe you could have done purely through the level design. I understand why they've been explicit so that, we don't miss anything. But yeah, overall, so again, things like this, you could just have the player walk into the room and have the doors seal, right? And then fight a bunch of enemies, and then it's revealed that the door opens. So some of it, I think, could have been done more through just the design of the level. But other than that, like, they're making sure we know everything that we need to know. That all works quite well.
So I think that puts them clearly in the good, because the difference there between the good and the excellent is the gradual explanation of gameplay and controls fully aligned with play, but then the excellent would be gradual explanation of gameplay and controls fully aligned with play and sometimes communicated through level design.
Yeah.
There is the one example at the beginning, but as you said, it might have been nice to see a few more examples.
Which example is that?
Oh, of being forced to jump at the beginning.
So that is the alignment with play rather than through the level design, because you're told
right.
do this and then you have the opportunity to do it. In fact, I'm kind of wondering, is it all fully aligned with play? Because for the most part, they just tell you a thing and tell you a thing and tell you a thing and tell you a thing. And you kind of have the opportunity to try those out as they tell you. Like, they say, this slime will hurt you if you bump into it, right after telling you about health, and this is how you heal. They never make you heal before you progress, but they do put enough. True. But they put, at the time when they introduce it, a relatively challenging enemy there, so you're probably going to take damage, so that when you're told how to heal, you can probably do that through play as well. So again, I think it stays at a good.
Yeah. So, having a satisfactory would say somewhat aligns with the play, but I think it does a little bit better than that.
Okie doke. So that brings us on to core dynamic. So we've already alluded to this a couple of times. What would you say is the core dynamic?
So fighting the enemies, destruction.
Yeah, fully agreed.
It's got a little bit of a get to the end associated. They agree with destruction. So they've got a nice short section that I can read aloud. Destruction. The player advances across the map in search of enemies and eventually the final boss. All aspects of the game are designed to aid the user in combat, and the purpose of the game is to fight and kill the enemies presented with the Soul System, a dynamic resource inspired by Hollow Knight. I imagined it was, but that's really cool. Additionally, we wanted to add an element of exploration, so we added extra benefits as a reward for exploring side paths within the map. For example, a token that would increase the user's max HP. This still ties into the core dynamic, as it aids the user in combat, and hence the destruction of enemies.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely. So I remember chatting to these folks during the lab sessions. Absolutely, there's, destruction is the primary mechanic here. Kind of like I was saying with the platforming that they introduced in the beginning. Like, they could have taken it in a number of different ways. Like, they could have made it, like you say, a race to the end, or even a spatial reasoning kind of puzzle type game. But because they wanted it to be destruction, they've made the enemies the main focus. They lock you in a room with enemies and you can't progress until you've destroyed them all. That's the bit that they're emphasizing that they want to be fun. So
Yes.
immediately, I think that hits a good, because it's a clear core dynamic that's supported by the primary mechanics. Excellent. It would need an integrated set of mechanics. I don't know if they have enough mechanics sort of to get fully to the excellent. Obviously, they've got the you've got an attack. They've got the sort of attack to get souls. That kind of works well. So I would maybe...
Considering it was a Hollow Knight inspired thing, I'd say that what would push them into that excellent is a second use for the soul bar that was an offensive option. Because right now your only offensive option is tied to your sword, whereas your soul system is entirely linked to healing, which, though it helps the player survive and therefore kill more enemies in the future, it doesn't directly destroy anything.
Yeah, like some kind of, Nova attack, which uses your souls but does more damage, would really sort of pull those together. But overall, I still think it hits a good. Which brings us on to feedback.
Alright. Initially, we presented our game that's core dynamic as merely combat, with the soul system being a risk-reward system. We've been advised that the combat system is a mechanic, which are the rules and systems the player interacts with directly. We also asked for clarification on level design. How explicit does the tutorial have to be, for example? We posed a question: when a player is faced with a change in elevation, we deemed that the natural instinct would be for the user to jump. We were told that this should be shown explicitly, so our tutorial level has a series of text-based explanations on the game's mechanics. In the lab, we mistakenly took the demonstrator's feedback of our core dynamic as race to the end, as we had the final boss at the end. But upon further discussion with lab demonstrators, we deemed destruction more fitting as our core dynamic, as the game does not involve anything time-based. Rather, the map exists to encourage exploration rather than pure speed. In this light, players engage in combat across the map, and exploration would be an aid towards that goal. Exploration would still play an important role in our game, but with its purpose adjusted, not purely for navigation, puzzle solving, or just general discovery. In our implementation, we adjusted our design to reflect our gameplay loop: fight, explore, gain rewards, become stronger to fight more enemies. I think that's a pretty tight game loop. Additionally, we were also advised in a later lab that it would be important to show which is our, quote, main path and side path, so the user, if the user just wants to continue fighting enemies instead of exploring, they can do so.
Okie doke. Yeah, for the most part, I think that's worked quite well for them. I don't know about the explicit tutorial part. In fact, we've already sort of talked about that a little bit. But yeah, like I said, marking the supplementary paths as sort of optional so we know which way we're going works quite nicely. I would say, that's been reasonably well articulated and it's been reasonably successful. So if we look at, in fact, particularly the bit about, their dynamic, at least the one that they have chosen on, very much destruction and not race to the end. So it sounds like they've done a good job of emphasizing that by making sure it's not timed, by making sure progression is tied to destruction of enemies, and so on, and so on, and so on. So I think that hits a good.
Absolutely.
All right, a good game all round. So let's move on to our next game. All right, and our next game is Balls.
Very to the point.
It's not my opinion of it. That's what it's called. So tutorial. Use the left and right arrows to rotate the camera. Okie doke. Oh, and once we've done that, it progresses. Nice. Up and down to zoom the camera. P to play the simulation.
That's an interesting one.
What does that mean? P to play. Oh, so we tip the glass over. There go all of the balls. Ooh,
and into the pit.
Into the void. We failed. R to reset, try again. So now if we left click the ramp icon, we spawn a ramp.
Uh-huh.
And we left click the ramp to select the ramp. WASD X and Y to move the object. Now that's a control scheme. So WASD moves it laterally, and then X
you got like a
moves it
tilt
up.
and yaw.
And Y does not seem to move it down. So this might be a bit of a problem for us.
Ah.
So I'm just going to press some other buttons in case there's one that it's not mapped to. But it looks like in the tutorial, at least, that doesn't quite work. So we can toggle Q to do that. So we can flip it over and we can rotate it. And again, Y doesn't seem to be doing anything, unfortunately. But what I can do is... No. So that's not quite going to work, so let's press R to reset. R is not resetting it.
Escape and... Is there a menu?
So let's fail and then see if we can... There we go, R to reset. But it resets and it keeps the ramp where it is. So reset only works mid-simulation. So let's try that again. And let's see if we can solve this without by moving it down. That's going to be tricky, I imagine. B to play the simulation, R to reset.
Does it simply spawn in the ramp wherever you're looking, or is it a set position? Because if you maneuvered the camera down and placed it low...
I assumed it was a set position, but you're right. Well, I can't move the camera, I can only rotate the camera.
Oh, right. I see.
But let's try that and put it here. Yeah.
That seems like a set position.
Ooh, interesting. Hang on, if I... Okay, so it does follow the camera. So if I'm just pressing D, it will always move it right on the screen. It just feels a little bit weird on the diagonal. Okay.
Okay. This seems like a quite well put together, like, little object manipulation physics sandbox.
Yeah.
But the fact that it can't go down is just a really unfortunate kneecapping.
If I do that, and then...
Oh.
So
you can move the position.
I can't move it down is the problem.
Here's an idea. If you either restart, or if you get to the point where you can get the object's lip just over the edge, you may be able to hook it underneath. Was it going down?
Z moves down.
Ah, Z moves down.
Not Y. Oops. Okay, well, I was going to say, because I remembered sorting this out when I tested it ahead of time. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it could move down. But it's not Y that does it. There we go. So, now we've got a little bridge. Oh, that popping noise is quite loud.
Oh, I see. Well, there you go.
There we go. Okay, so we beat the tutorial.
And a little timer.
So if we keep everything there, we've got 150 out of 150. We get gold. Nice. All right, let's play. Oh, we got a whole selection of levels. So where's our goal? Okay, if we rotate this way, we can find the goal. Let's move you over here. Like, it's not as far as, you know, movement, like manipulating like objects and whatnot like this goes. It's a little bit tricky, but then again, I've had to put together one like this before in Unity, and it's always a bit of a pain. So the fact that they've got it working like this works pretty well.
Yeah, a lot of these sorts of puzzle games are in 2D, so I got to commend them for making a working 3D version.
I also really like the way that the camera follows the center of mass of balls, if you like. It's a bit of a shame when it starts clipping through things like that, because it makes it difficult to realize, you know, like where were they going on? Yeah, where did they miss? Because 100 of my balls have gone somewhere and I don't know where, because the camera was clipping through as I was trying to watch where they went. So it'd be, on the one hand, I really like that they got the camera to do like a marble
Like
run
an action
follow.
shot.
Yeah, exactly. But it would be really nice if I could. Actually, maybe I can. Let me. So if I run the simulation again, can I take direct control of the camera? No. Which is kind of a shame because you really need to. Okay, they're hitting
you
the
get
edge.
to see just for a split second, yeah,
Right,
where they're
so-
going.
So if I grab this and I move you this way a little bit,
Perfect.
can we get gold? All right, so I was a bit worried when we first started playing this that we wouldn't be able to get through anything because I wasn't sure how to move stuff down. That said, I quite like this game. It's a nice, creative concept.
Yeah, absolutely.
Puts me in mind of, there's some games that have similar kind of mechanics, like Lemmings is a classic where you're trying to direct a bunch of stuff into a place. But like this is kind of nice.
It's not a far cry from a lot of those like fluid simulation games where you have to pour liquid down pipes into a bucket or something. Because a lot of like fluid simulation, it's just a whole bunch of spheres with rules that determine how much they stick to each other.
Ah, I suppose you're right. I hadn't really thought about it like that. Okie doke. If I rotate it like this, and then move it down a bit. What do we reckon? Is that?
I think if you push it a bit further away from the player or the camera, because I think they're gonna kind of bunch up. Yeah, I think that's about right.
I might need a little bit of tilt to it. Let's try that and see where we go. No. That needs to be at an angle, doesn't it?
Perhaps.
Yeah, see, this is the action camera is nice, but this means I can't see what is happening, which is a real shame because that's a pretty important part. All right,
yeah.
Let's restart that. So if we rotate you a bit like this, in fact, that might do.
Oh,
fine.
something. Here's an idea, because at the beginning you'd lost maybe 25 to 50 of the balls in that little cubby on the side. If you rotate it more aggressively to prevent them from even reaching that right-hand small block.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was well described.
I think I know what you meant. I'm gonna do a little increment and do it like this first to see if see how that changes things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Try that and see.
I'll tell you what, this game could have easily been just the one and you roll it down in same concept, but the fact that you've got 150 of them gives an interesting like variance to the path that they go down, so you can get that like difference between a pass and a silver and a gold. I presume bronze, silver, and gold.
Yeah. So exactly, it ties in nicely to the. I don't know if it's quite risk versus reward, but it is that differentiator between novice and expert. If you're a novice, as long as you get one ball down there, you're done. If you're an expert, you get okay. They're lighting things on fire.
That's an interesting. Yeah.
What a twist.
I wasn't expecting it to go this way.
Okie doke. Let's rotate you a bit like this, and then try to move you down a bit. I don't know if that's going to work as I wanted to, but we'll find out, or we'll try and find out. Ooh, they collect. For some reason, I expected that to be like locked in place when I moved it.
But they've got active physics even after you've left them.
Yeah. So let's try and push this over here. That looks good enough. That's probably fine, right?
Yeah, I reckon so.
I think some. Oh no, not fine. So there we go. Let's try that. I think some of them are catching on fire here at the top, but it's probably fine.
You do have an additional plank you could possibly use to block the first fire.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, I do have an extra plank. You're right. Hang on, I need to just move this over here a bit. Take this plank. Oh, no, don't want to rotate it like that. Swap. Very difficult to know what orientation. Like, moving it is one thing. Rotating it is real tricky.
It's fully functional, if
There
a
we go.
little cumbersome to place the pieces.
Yeah, very much so. Oh, okay, I lost a couple. Mostly fine. I got some.
Hey, nice. Success.
So is that 118 in the goal, or no? It's 105 in the
so.
goal.
Ah.
It's 100.
Oh, so that means that
So,
38 of them will have been burned.
or are stuck up there, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or rather, yeah, 13 of them are still stuck up there somewhere.
Sorry, 38, 32.
Okay, so I think firstly, I think this is the last level, but also I think we've seen enough of this that we can start talking our way through the mark scheme.
All right. Presentation, graphics, audio, and information design. I don't have the audio so much myself, so if you want to go on that, because I've not heard of this.
So this is kind of my second main critique of the presentation, that there is some nice sound effect when we're placing stuff, like we get a satisfying click or a clunk when we put something down. But other than that, I guess, and the pop of the balls once they land in the goal, there is no audio. So it'd be nice if there was like some kind of background music or something like that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
in terms of the assets as well, they are descriptive as in what they're gonna do when they interact with the balls. The fire, I probably didn't need to, have a piece of tutorial text come up say the fire will destroy the balls. That was obvious from the from the outset.
That's quite nice. The fire particle effects look very good. They look very fiery. It's like like you say, it was immediately apparent what that was going to do to our poor balls.
Besides that, though, we are in the void.
We are a bit in the void. You're right. The default Unity void at that. Oh yeah, no, that's not good. And then like the main thing is this problem with the action camera. Although it's a nice touch, it makes seeing the result of this Rube Goldberg machine that I've set together like really difficult. So I can't tell, where are all of these balls falling into the void? Which bit should I be going back and tweaking?
Yeah. Where do we want to sort of split that between graphics, audio, and information design, and the mechanics, controls, and bugs?
So I would be inclined to say, really, yeah, the information design kind of feels like it's sort of at the flawed level because it is such a big problem when we can't see the path of all of the balls. I can see why they haven't put in like a movement cam. So the other thing is like this camera view, for example, it makes navigating this level in particular a bit trickier because some of the other ones. So here, for example, I can't rotate around this top level because the camera's fixed in the middle, and I don't think there's a way for me to move it. I can rotate and I can zoom in and out, but it's actually quite difficult to focus on this bit in particular. I'm either really zoomed out or I just can't see it.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice ideas about like the way that the camera works, but I think that it doesn't quite come together. The idea is there, but maybe not the execution.
I think the visuals are fine. The sound effects are fine. It's a shame there's no sort of overall music. They have done some work on like the title screen, making that look kind of snappy. it feels like overall it probably hits the satisfactory level. Like it is workable. We are able to use it, but there are particularly given what I suspect their dynamic is, some kind of problems around the information design, I think.
Yeah. And then in meaningful play, for the mechanics, controls, and bugs.
So as far
So
as the mechanics go, the fact that they have this like you say, it is cumbersome, but it works. There are definitely better ways to be doing, clicking and dragging stuff through 3D space. But as far as the mechanics go, we've got like the tipping the ball, starting the simulation. We've got the different block pieces. Again, might have been nice if there were a few more different types of pieces, like with slightly weirder effects. But the actual this is a problem because like the actual controls are a bit kind of clunky and awkward. Which again sort of puts it at the pass level, but the actual like idea behind the game and the actual sort of mechanics of play. So I guess this one, what I'm saying is again, it is certainly playable. I might even go so far as to say the game itself is engaging, but it doesn't necessarily have like multiple mechanics. Does have reasonable.
They throw in
though.
like one more mechanic at the end with the fire. I think this, I don't know if I spoke to this group individually, but like an alternate fail mechanic or condition is something that we spoke about for like games that could be spiced up a little bit with their like mechanics. So I do appreciate the addition of the fire later. We thinking somewhere around the satisfactory for this one as well.
I think, yeah. See, that's a shame because I can't see where they were falling out. I think maybe between a satisfactory and a good. Like,
yeah.
On the one hand, it is fewer mechanics, but the complexity of like how they will have needed to sort out, the control system and moving the blocks around. Like, it's not ultra complex, but I can absolutely sympathize with the trials that they would have had to go through to put this together. So I think between a satisfactory and a good, like the controls are definitely a bit awkward, and that's partly down to the nature of the game they've picked. But as far as like we haven't seen any particular bugs unless we're counting the camera, and we've already kind of filed that under information design rather than bug.
Yeah.
So,
I think the fact that they've got a very like tight physics simulation that works consistently is what brings them between those levels, just a bit above the satisfactory. Because I do appreciate and respect the difficulty of making a physics game.
Well, I mean, Unity has done some of the heavy lifting for them as far as the physics engine goes, but yeah, I exactly agree with what you're saying. So, which brings us to level design and pacing. So, goals, risks, and rewards. I think they've done an all right job there. Like you say, they could have done this with just one ball, get it to the end of the level. It's kind of a build your own mini golf. But because they've gone for the, we'll just chuck 150 in there instead, immediately gives you a little bit more of a risk versus reward. It's not a huge amount because it doesn't necessarily change the way that you're playing a great deal. But it does mean that, for the obsessive completionist or the expert player, they've got something where, 149 won't do it. They've got to get all 150.
So I'd say that they do quite well on the goals and rewards, but what are the risks of this game?
Exactly. Like there's I don't know how you would sort of like fully describe that in terms of like these mechanics, but I think like you say, the goals and rewards they've done a good job on. In fact, I would say they've done a good job on.
Yeah. Give them a good.
Pacing. What do we think about the pacing?
So it definitely grows in complexity. We start at a tutorial level where we place the single shoot down, and then we add some additional elements on top of that with the ability to place one or two of the planks and the addition of fire and the slight change of the angle of the planks in the like starting level. But it is going from a platform that's slightly raised to a platform that's slightly lower with 2 planks and that start pre-spawned in all of the levels. So I think that the design space could have been explored a fair bit more of what kind of like levels can be made in this engine.
Yeah, I agree that of the levels that they've got, there's definitely an increase in the tension, but you're right that they probably could have taken it further. So if we just skip to level 4, but to be fair, fire is a good way of increasing the tension, and we go from
they do
one
have a
platform
second
to another
platform as
platform
well.
to another. That is on an incline, so we don't have, so the balls will sort of fly down that kind of as it is. We get given a commensurate amount of tools to work with, so now we've got 2 bridges and 4 planks. You're right, it would have been nice to see maybe this extended further. Again, small game prototype, it doesn't have to be huge, but you're right, it feels like, I would say, the tension is rising in a coherent pattern. Maybe they could have done something a little bit more with the balance side of things, but otherwise I still feel like it probably hits a good.
Yeah. And then onto the tutorial.
So tutorial is nice. It is done gradually. They make sure that we have done each of the instructions before moving on to the next bit, which is always nice. They introduce the simulation before worrying about telling us how to place stuff, so that we know, oh no, all of the balls have fallen into the void.
Yeah,
and they tell us how to quickly reset as well.
Makes the player fail first to show what the fail condition is, which I think is necessary for this kind of game, or at least very appreciated.
So I would say we've kind of got, and so basically we're doing this as we're playing. We're already at a good gradual explanation of gameplay and controls aligned with play. Some of it is done through the level design. To a degree. So things like, they introduce fire, they introduce planks. They never explain them. They're just stuff that we see and sort of figure out as we go. It's kind of pushing it to say that, that they're necessarily tutorialized, but they're stuff that we sort of pick up. I would say probably between a good and an excellent for this.
Yeah, because it is occasionally communicated through level design. I'd say that's good.
Also, a thing that I've just remembered, the tutorial is wrong. It does tell you that it's a different key than it actually is.
True.
But I think we can kind of overlook that and say, yeah, it's between a good and an excellent.
Minor textual flub, not like a real issue with the tutorial.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Which brings us on to core dynamic. What have they said the core dynamic is?
All right. The core dynamic of our game is puzzle solving. That's the first sentence.
Okay. Puzzle solving is what I would call a genre, but not a dynamic. Have they expanded on that?
Yes. Each level possesses multiple different solutions to level completion, where players must figure out how to combine and arrange different combinations of building objects. This is supported by the resource management dynamic. There is a limited number of building objects at the player's disposal. There is also a spatial reasoning dynamic, which again feeds into the puzzle solving dynamic. So,
interesting.
Spatial reasoning is the primary thing that the player is doing in this game.
Yeah, I think
I would say
resource management is a stretch, because you're not managing resources, but you've been given some spatial reasoning tools. Okay, so it feels to me like they haven't necessarily quite understood what we're talking about in the lecture series when we're talking about these core dynamics. But if we kind of gloss over that and we say, okay, well, it's a spatial reasoning game, how well do the mechanics support that as spatial reasoning? Then I think we can say, yeah,
quite well.
Yeah, it is literally about moving some stuff through space and figuring out how you're going to do that. So they give you some tools. Again, it is kind of a limited set of mechanics. You've got a bridge and you have to place the bridge. There's not a huge amount of different like combining mechanics. Like really a lot of the game comes down to the controls for placing the bridge are a little bit awkward, which makes it more challenging to place the bridge rather than just saying, yeah, here's the obvious spot. It gets a bit more interesting in the later levels where you're having to, place planks to avoid the fire and so on. But overall, again, if we overlook the fact that they have maybe not described the core dynamic as well as they maybe could have, I think we can say that it still hits the good. It is, as far as we're concerned, this game has a core clear dynamic, and it is definitely supported by the primary mechanics. They just perhaps need to go back and have a look at the lecture slides when we're discussing what a core dynamic is and how to bring it across.
All right. And then on the front of feedback. Feedback was received that it was okay to have more than one core dynamic if it supports the main dynamic. We have responded to this by making sure that our secondary core dynamic of resource management feeds into the main core dynamic of puzzle solving. Using limited resources effectively becomes part of the puzzle. We also received feedback to not just use WASD to move, and similar messages as the tutorial. So not the WASD being the problem, but the fact that it's just put as a similar message in the tutorial, but to let the player learn by doing. We responded to this feedback by making sure that when given an information message on how to interact with the game, the player must do this action to progress to receive the next instruction. This makes sure that the player learns by doing. Another thing we did was to disable inputs that the player has not learnt yet, so that they do not get confused if they accidentally press the wrong button during the tutorial.
Okay, so other than the core dynamic stuff, which we've talked about already, I can see that they're making... So first off, you can't have two core dynamics, because one of them's the core one. You can have secondary supporting dynamics, though, and I would agree that, yes... I can see their argument for saying it's resource management. I wouldn't quite agree with that, but I can see where they're coming from at least. But I think the main bit of feedback that has improved their game is that, exactly that, learning by doing. So not just saying, here's a list of all of the controls, off you go, but they have thought about doing it in steps, showing the consequences of running the simulation without having placed these things before letting the player place them, and like they say, disabling controls that you don't need yet to give it to take off some of the cognitive load from the player and avoid confusing them.
I think they've responded to that quite well. Let's see. Feedback has been addressed and the changes have been successful. That is true about the second half. I don't know how exactly we want to handle the first half about the core dynamic confusion, because I don't necessarily want to criticize them for trying to implement that feedback, given there seems to be a little bit of a misunderstanding of what the core dynamic means.
Yeah, I think that's we don't have to penalize them for that. We can just look at the feedback that worked.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, feedback's been addressed and the changes have been successful. Really, it's a good.
Sweet.
All right, let's move on.
And that has been balls.
Yeah, let's move on to our next game. All right, and our last game for this batch is Tower Defense. So
nice.
Nice title
screen.
Very
straight to the point.
Yeah, let's start game. So we've got a tutorial. We've got levels 1 to 3. Let's start with that tutorial. Ooh, okay, immediately there's a lot of stuff on the screen. You can, we've got 2 minutes and 60 seconds left. You can move the map by long pressing the middle mouse button. You can enter a pause state by pressing the space bar, during which you can place and upgrade defense towers. The middle mouse button. No, still not moving. I can zoom in and out though.
Okay.
If I press space, nothing happens, but I guess that's because we're already paused. Don't know what the symbols do. I guess we'll figure that out. Hey, look at us, we're figuring it out. Resource block are
Hey.
the blocks with gold bar. Try click on a resource block. Click. Miner towers can be used to collect gold. Try clicking the card with the pickaxe on the bottom, then click a block near the resource blocks, which are nicely highlighted for us. So if I click on a miner, okay, we get a little indication of where that's going. Oh, yeah, the little square rotates. That's kind of a nice touch.
Yeah.
So, fun fact, this is a tower defense game. Where do you think... do you think orange is enemy path or white is enemy path?
So, from guessing, I would say that orange is the enemy path, but that's a little bit disingenuous because I've seen this game a good number of times during development, and I playtested it a little bit prior.
Okay.
So
I remember seeing this in the
that,
expo, but I can't remember which one of these it was.
I
assume-
see. From a new player's perspective,
Let's put that.
right now we're just thinking about the gold, and it has a nice highlight of the yellow squares around that. So.
Try placing the basic tower marked with an arrow in the bottom left corner next to the road in the same way. So it says next to the road. Which of these is road? Is white road? No. Maybe? Click on the defense tower to select it. A tower panel appears on the right. Click the up arrow to upgrade the basic tower you just placed. If you don't want to, put click right and cancel. There we go, we've upgraded it. It's now green. We've
A
got
little bit
bigger
more
radius.
HP, damage, range.
You can check the catalogue at any time to learn about different towers and enemies. Click the catalogue button in the top right corner to browse. Hey, that's kind of nice. It's flashing and highlighted. That works very well. So we've got basic tower, defense tower, fire tower. I almost wonder if they should only reveal stuff in the catalogue once we've seen it. But
True.
it's kind of nice that we have a catalogue of everything.
I think some of those were not like fully populated with information because we haven't unlocked them, but I don't know if that's quite true.
Click the next button to start your fight. Okay, here come the... Okay, orange is definitely the path.
Yeah.
So let's put some... Oh, I can't afford any basic towers. Let's put down some... Oh, interesting. They're only highlighted in the tutorial, not just when I click on them normally.
Just to show that it's the adjacent squares in a tutorialized manner.
But why can't I put one here?
Because it's not adjacent to a gold. I think
Oh.
the only ones are
There we go.
directly north, south, east, and west of the gold bars.
Alright, well, let's put a few of those down. Let's put a few more of these down.
Nice.
Oh, that's all my money again. Let's put down some more miners. And then unpause it. We've also got this boost here. I think we're okay. There we go. Every once in a while, a large number of enemies will attack. What is every once in a while? How often is that? What do I need to do to prepare? There we go. Make these a little bit bigger. Oh, no, we won't because that's all my money. Oh,
And
no,
you've
we've
lost
got
some
3.
HP.
No, it does increase that as well. Excellent. So my miners are still mining. Can I upgrade the mining towers? I think I tried this in the expo, and they said you can upgrade them, but it doesn't do anything.
Yes, I think it increases the cumulative cost to having them on the board, but it doesn't increase their mining output.
Oops.
Or at least that's the way that it was at the last time I saw it.
Oh, my defense tower has been destroyed. I haven't placed any defense towers. It has shot my mine, though. Okay. Let's put
So
them-
if you click on that broken mine, are you able to repair it?
I think it repairs itself after a little bit, although I'm not sure. Your tower has been
Ah,
repaired.
nice.
And so we've got 1 minute and 30 left to go. So let's start spamming out some more towers. Can I upgrade them further? Oh, I can.
Maxed out.
But you said that makes them more expensive, right?
Yeah, my understanding is that, like, it's not just a single-time cost of building them, but there's some amount of cumulative upkeep. I don't know with 100% authority, though. Yeah, costs.
Okay, so are we
That
spending
might be, like, per shot or something?
2 every tick or every shot? Okay, so we don't know, but... Alright. Let's unpause again. Wait, am I paused or unpaused?
You're unpaused. Well, you can see via the timer at the top whether you're paused or not.
Ah, true. Let's put down some more of these. So these are going to cost me money every time.
Getting mildly overwhelmed. I think a number of your towers are broken.
Yeah, damn triangles. I don't know what I do about that though. I can put down a tower boost as well. Let's boost this tower.
Cool.
Doesn't seem to have changed the stat.
It's ever so oh no, it was just because it was selected, but it was a slightly different color.
Alright, 20 seconds to go. I think I was about to say I think we're okay. We might not be okay.
This is the occasional big wave of enemies that we were warned about.
It's wiped out all of my towers. Oh, we got 8 seconds left. Can you hold them? Hold!
Ooh, it's gonna be close.
It is gonna be close. Oh, no, I think we're okay. We survived!
Ooh, nice.
2 more seconds and I don't think we would have. But okay, we survived. Let's try level 1.
Slightly different map layout.
Yeah. So this is so they're going to be coming. Interesting. Does this mean this is going to spawn them going in 2 different directions?
Yeah, I presume so. You've got multiple different like modes of attack of your like base now, because you've got 2 paths that lead towards you, and you've got an enemy spawner that has 2 paths attached to it, so it could have alternate routing. You might be best advised to get
probably
some
should
gold.
put some mines down, shouldn't I? Let's kick off.
That's a very effective fire tower.
Yep. Now I'm gonna have to very quickly put something down here. Right, maybe I need a basic tower here, just as the last line of defense. Oh, fire tower suddenly been immobilized. I feel like the balance on this might be a little bit off.
If you click on the fire tower and try upgrading it, does that remain... well, when one's broken, if you upgrade it, does it remain broken? Yes?
Well, I can't upgrade it now because I don't have the money, but I'll look out for that in the future. I wish there was a way of paying to upgrade, or like you say, paying to fix towers, because that's going to be a problem. I suspect I'm about to die.
Yeah?
No? Yes.
Yeah. You failed to survive.
Text contrast there isn't good. But it fades to red, so it's easier to read. Okay, let's try this again. In fact, we'll play this one more, and then I'll actually skip to level 3, just so that we've definitely seen everything. But then we can start talking about the... Ooh, do I? No, that'd be crazy. That's a lot of enemies for like the first 5 seconds of the game.
That it is, yeah.
When all right, let's. Can I? Ooh, what do any of these buttons do?
Is that just return to game, home, music and sound effects, if I had to guess?
Alright, so we've got 400, which means if I want 2 towers, because they're going to start spawning from 2 different places, then the only one I can place is this. So that one has to go there. This one...
If you, instead of placing it, if you place it at the sort of elbow 2 tiles to the left, more of its range will cover the beaten path.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I was trying to prioritize this one, because I don't want it to get distracted by this, because I want to see how... So we don't seem to have had giant wave 5 seconds in this time. Also, I've just noticed now
You're not getting it gold.
I'm not going to make any money, am I? So, how? I'm real curious if they playtested this and if they've beaten their own first level. Because
I've beaten their tutorial and first level, but I've not beaten 2 or 3.
How did you beat level 1? Okay, so let's
good question.
Let's try it again. So we need to place a mine, or we're stuck.
If you do 2 mines and then a basic tower defense, or a basic tower in a position where it can hit enemies from both spawners.
And then very, very quickly place down another one.
Yeah.
And okay, now we've got some defense, we've got some income.
We've got a foothold. And then if you pause it again, I think that this game is very difficult if you don't pause, because I think the timing between giving you enough gold to defend yourself with buying all the towers and like the time it takes the enemy to kill you, you should not be or you are not really able to just play it while it's continuously going. I think you need a fair bit of setup. And even then, being overwhelmed is easy because of the breaking towers.
Yeah, that is an interesting choice, but I think the balance might suffer a bit for it. Because it's not like I can... Well, hang on, let's test this out. If I upgrade it, that does clear the damage.
Interesting.
So I was going to say, if I could pay to fix my towers, but it turns out I can if I upgrade them. So it's not perfect, because if I've already upgraded them, it's going to be a pain to repair them.
True.
But now I'm making the money. Okay, so that was a rough start. Maybe we can stabilize it as long as we don't get another mega wave. Let's see how we go.
I think it's got a bit of a steep learning curve in so much as finding out the way the game intends you to structure your towers. But I think difficulty-wise, it's still, like, quite beatable.
Maybe you're just better at games. Let's try that.
Definitely one of the more difficult ones that I've played from this cohort.
I do like a good tower defense game.
Yeah. Played plenty of Gemcraft as a kid.
For me, it was always Bloons Tower Defense. All right, before we start waxing nostalgic, let's turn our attention towards the mark scheme, because although we've not seen all of the tower types, I think we've got a good handle on the basic systems, and then we'll sort of keep playing as we go. So first off, presentation.
It's definitely got an art style to it. This is not an art pack to the best of my knowledge. But yeah, I think it's simplistic, but it communicates everything that it needs to in terms of the like tiles looking different from one another. There's the like background mountains and trees and stuff that show you where you can't play. It did the little highlighting around the gold, and it shows you the difference between the path itself. I suppose less explicitly, but by the time you see the enemies moving down, you know what the path is.
Yeah, it was a little bit overwhelming to start with, but now I've played through the tutorial, it sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
I did wonder initially if we're mining gold, are we going to have a lumber camp that we have to put next to these forests? But I think they're mostly just there for a bit of decoration, and B to make our tower placement a bit trickier, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Just a minor, I think. I like that they put in like a little bit of flavor text about each enemy as well, though. That's kind of nice.
Each one of them slightly different. It doesn't have their stats there, which is strange. I think it's intended to... Yeah, like there. It might have been supposed to have those stats for all of the enemy types. Maybe that's something you unlock or something?
Maybe.
But considering you start with perfect information for the towers, might just be a little bug.
Yeah. So yeah, as far as information design goes, you're right. Like, a bit overwhelming at the start, but once we've gone through the tutorial, it's very clear that okay, this is the path, these are the spawners, this is the home base, and so on.
How's the sound design?
It's quite nice. We've got some background music. Do I think it matches the tone of the game? It's a little bit mystical. I don't feel like it has necessarily the. It would be good if it had something that rose in tension with the amount of enemies on screen, but again, that's it is fine for what it is. We've also got some nice sound effects of all the little turrets firing and so on. Sticking with information design for a second, we've got things like, oh, I don't want that tower, I want this one. Like, we've got the radius of the tower, we've got the stat blocks. All of these things are conveyed actually really nicely.
Yeah. I think the use of icons is incredibly good, because they've got some text for a lot of these things, like both the name and the icon for the tower in the shop. Having visually distinct icons for all of the different things, I think, is very important in a game like this.
Yeah, I agree. So, I feel like we're sort of up easily at the professional level. They are complete and effective. Possibly partway to excellent, in fact.
Yeah. Yeah, I give this between a good and an excellent.
Like, there's some bits that are like less clear. Like, for example, does the tower attack boost go on a particular tower? Does it just go generally? How long does it last? Actually, no. The main bit of information design that's a little bit tricky, and this maybe is a balance thing as well, is when we get these big waves of enemies. How often do they happen? What triggers them? Are they at random, or is it, you know, after every minute we're going to get a big wave? So something like that to really give us a chance to bulk up our defenses in anticipation of that would be good, or would be excellent. But as it is, I think we're between a good and an excellent there.
All right.
In terms of mechanics. Well, we got a whole bunch of different types of tower. We've got the gathering resources. Again, we've got these boosts that I haven't really been making a lot of use of, but we've got like different stats like health, attacks, damage, speed. Don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Range, I guess. Range.
I think so.
And ongoing
and then cost.
That's a point. So defense towers have lots of. They only have 10 HP, they only have 10 HP. So if I put down a defense tower, generates trap cards. I haven't actually used any defense. I should try using those a little bit.
Yeah. It might be worth skipping to the last level and just placing one of each of the towers that we haven't seen.
You know what? That's a great idea. Let's do that. So we've got sniper
now,
towers.
Presumably, we have everything unlocked.
What is an eject tower? Attacks one target, projectiles bounce to 2 additional targets. Again, like in terms of information design, having this catalogue is actually a really, really nice touch as well. Particularly with all the different things. Like, it's not information that we necessarily need at a glance on the main screen, but the fact that we can refer back to this is very good.
I love a game that basically needs a wiki, but the wiki is built into the game. Something like Factorio.
So back to the gameplay. You're right, we've got a whole bunch of different mechanics. We've got different types of enemies. The enemies have different effects, whether that's different health. Oh, we've got 3 places we've got to defend this time.
And the same amount of HP.
That's not great, is it? Start mining and then down. Ooh, so where are you going to go? Presumably up here. Can't afford that yet. Let's just put this down and see what happens. Doesn't seem to be. Oh, so they're firing at my. Ooh. I'm not seeing any traps.
Have we laid any traps? Yeah.
No. I'm going to go back to a previous level and see if we get a more chance to put stuff down. As far as the controls go, obviously it's just point and click. But beyond, like, I don't know how else you would do a tower defense game and keep the controls smooth. So the controls are very simple. But they allow you to, I guess it's more a case of, the menus and so on that let you navigate these things, and they all work perfectly well. Let's put down a couple of those and then just pray for a bit. We can probably sink a little bit of health into this. I haven't noticed much in the way of bugs. I don't know if you have.
No, nothing really. I'd be quite inclined to give this an excellent none.
Yeah, I agree. So that takes us on to how well it fulfills the overall brief.
The level design, goals, risks, and rewards.
So again, tower defense kind of has like an inherently good risk versus reward structure of, do I save up my money for a better tower, or do I spam out a bunch of weaker towers right now? We're going to talk about the balance again in a little bit. But as far as the sort of built-in mechanical risk versus, like, obviously the goal's real obvious. It's kill the bad shapes, protect the base. But I would say the risk versus reward they're definitely clear and coherent. Yeah. I don't know if they're fully well balanced, because I don't know if, for example, the defense tower is really worth more than 1.5 times the basic tower.
And similarly, you've got the sort of buffs on the side that, compared to the efficacy of the towers, it gives you another option, but we haven't quite sussed out the optimal way of doing that. That might be a thing that one just learns with time playing this game, but it might be something that the game itself could use a little tweaking. It's hard to tell.
So this is kind of another good example of maybe where it falls down a little bit. I've got 4 spawners and kind of 4 paths. Most of them will lead to this choke point, but when I start, like, maybe I should wait and see which spawner ticks first before I decide where to place this. Because that's pretty rough, right? I've got one coming from this path.
Yeah.
This tower just about covers both of them. But it's very, like, this is going to be my main choke point, I think. Which is
they've explained a lot of things in very high detail, but they've not explained the pattern of the enemies much, if at all. Like, we were mentioning, like, when is that large wave gonna come, and sort of what spawners are going to be producing the enemies earlier on versus later on. Are they all just producing them equally? Are you going to have to have more of your resources concentrated on certain parts of the map as opposed to others? That sort of stuff.
But overall...
And... Oh, sorry, yeah, go ahead. I was going to say, and I'm not sure if the, like, 2 different, like, goals here that the enemies are trying to get to, whether they can take exclusively one path from the spawner to a set endpoint, or whether the enemies can go multiple different paths from the same spawner. I think I actually did see that while I was describing it. The spawner on the top produced an enemy that went to the left and an enemy that went to the right and then down. So I think I answered my own question.
So overall, I would say we're probably between a good and an excellent. They're clear and coherent.
Yeah.
There's maybe some question about the balance, but overall it seems to be a good mix. Pacing. Well, the pacing is not flat. It sure ramps up.
It's
actually,
kind of
to be honest,
a step change.
Well, in a way, it starts pretty high as well, actually. So maybe it is flatter than I'm thinking about it. It just starts off right at the top. But no, I would say it probably does rise over time, and as you say, it probably rises a little bit fast in places. Again, often in tower defense games like this, you start off with a very gradual introduction to, you know, the enemies and so on. But
yeah,
I think it overall works out okay. Like, I would say it's clearly rising over time. I guess it's a coherent pattern as well, in so much as it is, like you say, a bit of a step change at certain points. But we go from...
It's geared a little bit towards someone who's played tower defense games before.
But just as an example, if we go from level 1, where we've got... I guess we do have 2 on level 1 as well. But then if we go to level 2, we've got 4... Oh, I can scroll around this map. I couldn't before.
Nice. That might have just been while the tutorial messages were open.
Oh, maybe. And this one we've actually got 4, but then we're increasing it. Okay, yeah, maybe it is more coherent than I realised. I'm still not sure that it's super well balanced, because this, again, like you say, it's the splitting paths and the multiple routes, and the fact that I've got such limited starting money and about 5 seconds before they spawn makes me think it's not super well balanced. But I think we can definitely say it hits the good.
I think so.
What about the tutorial?
That was pretty... It covered all of the bases, but in like a textual format. But it did have some nice highlighting, and it's got some of that, like, you know, with the pointer and the spinning square on the end. I know it's not exactly a... It's more information design than tutorial, but it guides the player through the tutorial.
Now, can I break the tutorial flow? I try placing a basic tower and instead I place more of this. It does progress, so it goes, well, you placed something and moves on to the next bit. But now I can't click on my defense tower to select it. So,
yes,
maybe a little bit more guided. Like if you're explicitly saying, do this, now do this, now do this, you're going to need to account for the player not doing that. Whether it's a case of you just don't let them do stuff that you're not telling them to do, or you basically update the tutorial with a, well, it looks like you've done the wrong thing. Let's us correct that for you, or let's just skip over because maybe you already know what you're doing. Will it progress if I upgrade this instead? I guess it does. So in a way, they've kind of accounted for it. I upgraded something.
I guess a miner is probably counted as a tower of some description under the hood.
Even though upgrading them actually doesn't do anything except costs me money.
Yes. It gives them health, if nothing else.
Oh, does it? No, it doesn't. They start with 20.
Okay. That's a...
It gives them 200 to damage, although I don't think they ever... Does it? Wait, does that mean they generate money faster?
Something to check. Are we getting 250 every time it goes up? Or are we getting... Oh no, it goes up in a more...
Oh, and it is definitely costing me money. It is still going down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's definitely still in there.
Yeah. But as far as tutorial goes, we've got a gradual explanation of gameplay and controls. Fully aligned with play or partly aligned with play?
I'd be more inclined to say partly aligned with play, because it tells you how to use the first, like, couple of things, but there's a lot more in terms of, like, tower variety and in terms of the, like, single-use spells and stuff that it... Well, okay, no, it does explain it. It's just via the little notebook quest log thing in the corner.
Yeah.
Are we counting this as part of the tutorial?
Well, I mean, they point us towards it in the tutorial. I don't know. I wouldn't. We don't have to differentiate between tutorial and main level or main bit of gameplay, as long as it is, teaching us part of it. In a way, like it is quite tricky to teach things about this game through the level design, or at least if they are ramping things up as fast as they are. So, for example, they could absolutely have tutorialized the different types of enemies across their level design by just having them appear a lot slower and, go from I can't remember the ranking of their enemies, but going from a circle to a triangle to a square to a hexagon or whatever, and be very, the first time you see a new enemy, maybe you just send it out as a bunch of them, or like by itself if it's a particularly nasty one, so that the player gets a sort of moment of, ooh, what's this new thing? Whereas I feel like in this there's so much happening all the time that it's difficult to pick out a new occurrence. Admittedly, like the towers are, they're just a case of here's a new tower, off you go and use it. But again, the level design, if we go back to, let's go to level 3, or like we've just been introduced to the sniper tower. Where's the good spot on this level to put a sniper tower? Oh, I can't pan the map when it's paused. That's That's
I
interesting.
see.
Or similarly, when we've got our area of effect fire tower, that gets introduced here. There's a few spots, but really, like in a tower defense game, you'd want, like a U-shaped road or something. So I can put the area of effect tower in the middle. It affects all of those things. So as you introduce a new tower, make the level match to emphasize its new role and to teach its role to the player. That said, I still think it is mostly aligned with play. Maybe not fully. Maybe between a satisfactory and a good.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet.
Now this one, I can see going in a couple of different directions. What have they said is the core dynamic?
Survival.
Cool.
So
that is the one that I would have
central-
picked, I think. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's most effective as well. The central driving of our tower defense game is survival. Every action the player takes, like placing towers, upgrading them, deploying skills, or investing in economy, brackets mining, is ultimately aimed at preventing the base from being destroyed. The escalating enemy waves create sustained pressure, making the stay alive the overarching motivation that unifies all the mechanics and systems. Supporting Dynamic 1, resource management. Players must make constant trade-offs regarding how to allocate limited resources. Short-term defense competes against long-term economy efficiency. This creates meaningful tension that directly fuels survival. And supporting Dynamic 2, strategic placement. All towers can be attacked, which forces the player to place towers strategically rather than mechanically. Not sure what they mean by that. Different tower functions and attack patterns encourage thoughtful defense layouts, positioning trade-off, and synergy building.
Okay, so I don't know what they mean by the strategic placement and placing things strategically over mechanically, but as far as survival goes, and to a lesser extent as far as the resource management goes, I definitely would agree. We are trying to survive for a set amount of time, not necessarily trying to survive for as long as possible, or longer than we did last time, but we are trying to survive. We're constantly fighting off waves of enemies and trying to preserve our limited resource of our health for as long as we possibly can until the game says we've done a good job.
Absolutely.
So for this, I think the secondary dynamic of resource management makes more sense because we're making active choices about, do I spend my resources on trying to get more resources? Again, it ties in with that risk versus reward of, do I save up for a more effective thing? I've got a lot more choices here about how I'm distributing these resources. So I think that kind of works as a supporting dynamic. But if we look at the mark scheme, where are we? So we definitely got a clear core dynamic. I would say it is probably supported by the primary mechanics.
I'd say so.
Would we say that it is supported by an integrated set of mechanics?
I think you've got a lot of different choices on how you want to survive, or like how you want to build your tower defense.
I think
I think the supporting mechanic of the resource management especially pushes it over that boundary into the excellent, just because I think that this could have been quite easily made in such a way where the resource management is almost a bit separate. But I think here, because it's like something that you directly increased and decreased by upgrading your towers, that management element plays into the survival more effectively.
Okay, so I think it definitely hits the excellent. So here's the thing: I think they've got a good supporting dynamic. I think they're on the way to having this integrated set of mechanics. I think there's maybe more things that they could have done with it, but I think that kind of evens out to hitting an excellent there.
Yeah.
Okay, and lastly, but by no means leastly, what was the feedback that they got during the sessions? How did they respond to it?
So this one is lovely and structured because it's all feedback, response. So, feedback 1, enemy types are not easy to distinguish. Response 1. Adjusted enemy shapes, increased the size of boss enemies, changed the color to make it more noticeable, and added a catalog containing each enemy's name and description.
So some of these are, quality of life, bits of polish things, but they're not really relevant to the things we have. So if we skim through their feedback and look for things that were probably said by the course team that's more relevant to that rather than... For example, the start button doesn't look like a start button. Sure, fine, but not the type of feedback that we're worried about for this bit. So if we look at...
Does not have a tutorial to explain the game mechanics. Adding that was quite an important thing.
I mean, yes, it is also just a thing that is explicitly asked for in the brief, so if they originally didn't have a tutorial, that's a bit of an issue. Same for and feedback 4 kind of relates to that of, player may not understand the purpose of the resource blocks, which is, again, we added a tutorial, so overall, like their feedback doesn't actually seem to cover a lot. Now, I don't know if that's because they weren't regularly at the lab sessions, but some of it is it was a fundamental part of the brief, and some of it is we made some of the buttons nicer.
Yeah.
But overall, I feel like we can say it's tricky, right? Because if they hadn't had a tutorial, it would have been a worse game. But that's not the type of feedback that I think they would have needed after we'd seen a prototype. So something like, looking at, for example, the balance and things like that. Definitely not having a tutorial included would have been a pretty crucial failure, though. So I feel like this kind of hits the sort of satisfactory level, not because the changes weren't necessarily successful, but because, again, it is relatively a relatively basic response to that kind of feedback. So rather than just saying, we added a tutorial. I get they talk it in a little bit of detail about how they did that, but again, the actual feedback they've interpreted and responded to is a little bit basic, I think. So it feels like that kind of hits the satisfactory level there.
All right.
I think to improve that, what they could have done was sort additional feedback once they'd actually met the brief.
Yeah.
But okay. Overall, a nice game. It's brutally difficult, I think. Particularly if, again, we're 10 seconds in and we've already got this many enemies and no money. But like an enjoyable concept. It's always good to see a good tower defense game. So that is our last game for this batch, which means it's our last game for this video. So we will see you again very soon for the next one. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.